All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. All right, so part two, I might do a part three covering Jonathan Cain's interview with I don't know, some dude from the UK who has a real problem with Donald Trump, like more so than the usual reporting here in the United States, which is saying something, right? Even at the end of it, he's got to say, maybe Donald Trump should take a page out of the Steve Perry playbook and go away for a while. You know, that's how the interview ended. But I'm going to talk about how Steve Perry didn't want to go to the UK and why he didn't want to go. Before I get there, here is a band from the UK, Blood Red Saints, Undisputed. After this video is over, go listen to Heaven in the Headlights. All right. If you're a Journey fan, this is a perfect album to listen to, especially considering that there's a UK connection with this particular content because of the interviewer who is from the Metro UK. So this is how Steve Perry behaved back in the 1980s when asked about going to Europe in those days. He basically said he didn't want to go to Europe because he was afraid of the bombing over there. The keyboardist said former lead singer Steve Perry was always worried something would happen at a concert if they toured Europe back in the 1980s. There was some unrest in Europe and especially over in Ireland. And I think that was what kept Steve Perry away, was all the bombing, you know, the unrest. He was always worried about something happening in one of our shows. I didn't get that because we're not political. We just come and play our hits, you know. Don't Stop Believin', the one song that made it in the UK, was an escape route. That's all we needed to do. So Cain's saying here it was the one song that made it in the UK. I find that surprising. But those of you from the UK, you guys have a whole different playlist than we have over here. So I completely understand that. Cain added, but in the end, I think we missed an opportunity that we could have just shown up there. There would have been no trouble, and I don't think anything would have happened. But he had to approve it. So that also shows that Steve was calling the shots. These guys let Steve Perry call the shots, especially after Frontiers, when they got back together again and they did Raised on Radio. That's all Steve. That's a Steve, almost like a Steve solo project. He brings in all of these people. He's writing songs with Randy Goodrum again. He's got Randy Jackson and Larry London, right? The drummer. So, I mean, he really changed things up. And then again, we talk about Perry's departure from the group in 87. And then in 98, Cain said the band worked the former singer too hard, which is kind of admitting what many of us already knew. And some of this stuff was in Jonathan Cain's book. He compared Steve Perry to a racehorse. He was a thoroughbred, and we just kind of worked him to the bone, and then he couldn't sing anymore. And so he alludes to the fact that his voice is very sensitive and he needs time off. That's what he said here. Cain also revealed that when Perry took time off, he wouldn't hear from him for over a year. It was weird, he said, explaining how Perry would come back and say, "Time to make another album." And he compares it to what John Lennon and Paul McCartney did with the Beatles. They would, you know, go away for a while, then come back together. They'd go their separate ways, okay, musical pun, and then they would come together. Beatles pun, right there. That's why people subscribe to this channel, folks, because there's tons of puns. Cain says, when I watched the old Beatles movies, the way it was between those two guys, that was the same way in our band. We had similar patterns. We had the magic chemistry. That was the coolest thing. It was undeniable. Reflecting on their various breaks, he added, it was good to go away because Steve Perry used to say, "How can you miss me if I don't go away?" And here comes the zinger from the author of this article, the writer, perhaps Trump should take a leaf out of Perry's book. Ha ha ha. So anyway, folks, gratuitous orange man bad type thing. And again, I'm not sitting here touting the wonders of Donald Trump. That's not what I do on this channel. At this point, I'm just fed up with everything. And so, 330 million people, and it comes down to these two guys. And some people are going to vote for the guy who's more functional, right? And if you go back to like 2017, 2018, when this channel started, I was in much better financial shape. YouTube was actually paying me better. And gas was like $2 a gallon, right? And I'm not talking 2020. 2020 was a really bad year, all right? And some people take that out on Donald Trump. 2020 wasn't all his fault for sure, but he was the president, and Truman, famously said the buck stops here. But man, look what we've got in the White House now. I mean, the guy just wanders off. I've watched things where I'm like, if this were any other person, the media would be melting down every single day, even the rock star community. If this was anybody else, they would say, wow, our president is really bad. I'm just ashamed. And they're all ashamed of their country when Trump is the president, but you're not ashamed of the country when Biden is president? This guy? Oh, because he's keeping Trump out of the presidency. I don't know, folks. I don't know. I mean, yeah, call it the lesser of two lessers if you want. Take the least lesser. Take the least lesser if you want to go that route. I'm not telling anyone who to vote for. This year, some people will say it's very important to vote this year. Other people will say, this is stupid. Worry about your local elections and elect people that you can trust locally and all that good stuff. People who you can have some accountability with or for. I don't know. All right. It devolved into a political discussion because, again, the guy at the end, Trump should take a page out of the Steve Perry playbook and just go away for a while. All right. Blood Red Saints. See, I don't hold a grudge against the UK. Here's a band from the UK. I love the UK. I mean, the UK is great. Used to be really great, but now it's like, but Blood Red Saints, undisputed. A lot of great music over there. There are other bands. The Big Wolf Band, I like to talk about here on the show. They're fantastic from the UK. And there are others. You just have to kind of look around out there on the internet. You'll find a few great bands from that neck of the woods on planet Earth. Thanks for watching. Don't forget about Modern Retro Radio, modernretroradio.com. You want to hear all of those people, those great artists you used to hear on the radio. You want to hear them again? Put on Modern Retro Radio and you'll actually hear them. And that's unusual because, the rest of the radio market, they're all doing the exact same thing. It's very boring. And so I applaud any internet radio station that is doing things that we all used to do back in the day when we used to just play what we wanted to play. And we allowed the audience to determine oftentimes if we were going to play that song more or less. That's how it used to work, folks. Now everything is corporately controlled and monitored and curated, and it's boring. It's very boring. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I wasn't too boring, and I will talk to you soon.